Okay, so I'm going to go on to the features of the program, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the features that we added from version 6 onward. Okay, so we've done, okay, let's go to version 6. So our first thing we did, well, I really kind of explained it, but I'll show you what we did of how it works now. So MongoDB is now our secondary process, and when you, by doing this, all of our lists like this, so we've got these customer lists, we've got sales order lists, we've got inventory lists. When you're viewing it in this screen right here, you're seeing it with Mongo. You're not seeing it with Pervasive. When you open up the record, so open up this, now you are viewing and looking at looking at the Pervasive data, and when you make a change and you hit the Save button, then it updates Pervasive and it updates Mongo. There's the reason why you do not need to do a refresh when running strictly BVEssentials, because it does update both databases. Well, the reason we've gone to the MongoDB for searches and lookups is because it's very fast. In the past, we had a customer tried to use BVEssentials, and they had 450,000 inventory records, and it was not possible to do a lookup. It would just stall the program for an hour and a half before it finally brought up the list. Whereas now we tested with that same data, and it takes about a second to load the inventory data now. So that's the big one, is speed. That was a real reason we went to the Mongo. But the added benefit was that we can search this data fully, like a Google type search. So if we go to, for instance, to customers, and we want to find all customers in Vancouver, I can type that in, and I get, oops, I guess I should spell Vancouver right. It doesn't have auto-checking spelling, so so there it is. So there's all customers in Vancouver. When you look at the first two, well, sure, they say City of Vancouver. So how come this one's showing up, whereas it's in Toronto? So if you open it and you look at this, you will see Vancouver is one of their ship tos. So there it is. You see that too. So you see that it finds it. If you find it, that it looks at the word Vancouver within the ship to as well. Okay, I'm just going to slow down a bit because I understand my screens aren't refreshing as quickly as I'm talking. So if I do another search and I search for the word, say, watch, so I look at this customer and I open up the customer, and I see that I don't see the word watch anywhere in here. Their street's not watch. They're not in a city called watch. So where could it possibly find that customer? Well, under the communication tab, we have this note that says, difficult client to deal with, watch their account carefully. So that's how we were able to find it. So as you can see, we're finding all customers within the, any word basically within their name, their address, their phone numbers, their contact information, any of their notes that are in the system. So it's a very comprehensive search. And you do multi-word search too. So if I type Toronto, and then I want to type Sonos, for instance. No, that's not a word I've got in this particular database. Let's go with road, R-O-A-D. So now it finds all Toronto customers on a Avenue Road. So it does multi-word searches, so you can find anything within the information. So that was kind of the key things that we added in version 6, along with filters. So filters now allow you to take that information and save that. So if I want to search my customers that are in Toronto, and now I want to save that search, I can now go to here and say save default, and then now that will show up as my default. Sorry, I did that incorrectly, so I'm going to take that out of there. I meant to do add filter, and I go where city contains TOR. So there it contains TOR, and then I can continue on if I want to and say plus and add more criteria. And then I can now take that cert. I'll leave that one alone as it is now. So there's all my Toronto customers. And now I can now take that and save this filter. So I'll go save preset and call this TO customers and click OK. And then when I go off of customers, I come back to it later. I can now go filters and say TO customers and bring that up. And you see I've got some other ones saved there as well. There's customers that are over $10,000 owing with a credit limit of less than $10,000. So you see they've got two criteria here. So I've got two of them there. And I've got another one in there called my Ontario customers greater than 50,000 in gross profit. Well, there's none, so in this case. So you can see you can save those filters. So those are the two things in version 6. Version 6.1, we added workbook support. So if you go into a customer and you edit this customer, and I've just turned on the workbook for this database, so you'll see under workbook here, we now have two tabs. And those are set up still in Business Vision, not in BVEssentials. You still set up the workbooks themselves. But if I go ahead and try and hit save on this customer right now, it says member number is a required workbook field. So what we've got here is that you have to fill out the member number. And the way we know that is that way is that there's an asterisk right behind the member number. And that's done in the Business Vision setup. So if I go into Business Vision now, and I go to my workbook setup, and I look at my properties of the workbook, and I see I've got member number, and I go properties. So here on that particular label is an asterisk behind it. And even if you've got a workbook already set up, you can always change the label, no problem, without having to do a rebuild on it. So you can go ahead and put any of the required fields and put the asterisks behind the ones that need it. And then they'll become available to you. Now, and just click OK, close that off, and we'll flip back to BVEssentials. So now I've got the member number in there, and I got that information. And I've got maintenance here as well, all my drop downs. So all the same features of what Business Vision has within it, but we've laid it out a little nicer on these tabs across as opposed to overlaying tabs. And we do the same thing with sales orders, inventory, purchase orders, so on throughout the system. The only part we do not yet support for workbook is the detail lines of a sales order and a detail lines of a purchase order. That's coming down the road. Okay, so a couple of small things here under inventory. We've added a column called margin. So we've got based on sell price 1, that's what our current margin is. GP, so what we're going to make on the product every time we sell it, so the markup, the dollar markup, and this one's the percentage we're making on it. So of course all those, and then we have current and average. So, and now all those now become part of the filters that we can set up. I think I might have one set up. Yeah, here's our items less than 25% margin. So very quickly I pull down items less than 25% margin because it uses those fields to find that. Okay. Okay, so I already talked about save filters. So earlier we said we could put filters in 6.0, but the saving didn't come until 6.1. All right, one more feature that's been highly requested is when you're adding new inventory items to have it saved to multi-warehouses, but have the users select which ones they are. So if I type in a new item and I hit save, it pops up and asks which warehouses do you want these saved to, and it defaults to what you did last time. So you can say this time I want all 3 warehouses, or I just want the 1 warehouse, or these 2, and then it adds them to those 2 warehouses and not the 3rd one. So people that have things like RMA warehouses, they don't want all inventory added to that warehouse, so it just gets added to the ones that they typically would have those items in. Okay. Okay, so we added something to filters, which is we call next X days and last X days. So in the filter section, when you add a new filter, anytime there's a date field chosen, so let's go with order date. So we now have is, and so we've got is not, is before, is after, is between, is today, yesterday, current month, last month, calendar year, and then fiscal year, and now we've added these last X days or next X days. So for sales orders, for instance, and I want to know any orders that have an order date, or probably I should have chosen the required date of next X days, then I can go in here and say I want all orders due in the next 45 days or 4 days or whatever it happens to be. And then if I save this as a preset, then I can always bring up all my orders due in, today or, for the next one day. That way it'll show everything there. All right. Okay, we added the carrier fields from sales orders onto the list. So again, this is quite requested. So under our info tab, we have these 3 fields, so carrier name, date, and tracking number. And those have now been added to the list itself. So I got available for reporting and for, where are they here? There they are. Carrier. No, here my screen is behind again. Okay, good. All right. So carrier name, ship date, and tracking number have been added here. So you can now use those in your filters, and you can use those in your searches. Okay. So that's it for 6.1. We're getting down to the 6.2, which is our current release. And we've got now, this is probably our most requested, I don't know if it's requested so much, but the time we spend the most with partners on creating or installing a new system for people is the fact that you cannot see Business Vision orders in BVEssentials. So you used to have to go to, Business Vision, you'd export the file out to a text file, clean up any mess that's in there, like extra exclamation marks and quotation marks and such, and have to then import it and hope it came in without any errors. So what we have now is that any Business Vision orders that are in the system show up in BVEssentials as a view. So here's 6 or so orders that are Business Vision, and if I double click on it, it opens up in view only mode if you don't want to do anything with it, just want to check it out what it is, if you want to leave it in Business Vision for some reason. But you also have this button called import, and if I import that order, it basically removes it from Business Vision and puts it into BVEssentials, and then you can just save and close it, and now becomes one of our regular orders. The other ones, if you want to do the whole works at one time, you can just highlight them all. So you're started with a new customer, they've got a couple hundred orders in there. You can just highlight the orders and hit the import button, and it'll bring them all in at one time. So that's good for startups, but there's also cases where people do orders in Business Vision still. Maybe you got the 90-year-old guy in the back room that refuses to make a change, and he's always known how to do orders in Business Vision and refuses to do change anything to anything new. Or there's the people that use the entry-level Business Vision web system, and their orders can't go direct like some of the other programs do. So they come into Business Vision, and now you can import them in one at a time as they appear. Okay, so that was a big one. That's something that people have asked for a lot. Okay, we added job costing. So we do a little bit different. So I'll go to a non-BV order. We do a little bit different. Business Vision, when you invoice an order, it asks you what job you want to post it to. What we do is ahead of time, we will allow you to choose the job. So if you open up an order, then you go to the info tab, then you'll see on the bottom, I've got a job and a job account. So as I pick those job here, I pick it off the list, and then the account it belongs to, then I can put that in. Then what happens is if you've got job cost integration turned on, it posts the dollar value for this order to the job. And it also posts these 2 fields to the sales history so that you can report on them as well. Now that I hit save and close on this, salesperson required field, if I close this order now, that job also appears on our list, and we're able to search for it and to add filters for jobs. So if you wanted to create a filter that says, just show me all my Acme jobs, then it brings them all up. And because they're work in progress now, those fields become available to you for reporting purposes, and you can do a work in progress report, basically, for what's going on. And that same criteria also exists in our purchase orders for jobs as well. If you don't have job cost integration turned on, those fields are still available to you, and you can use them, but it only then saves to the sales history or purchase history tables and not to the job cost program. Okay, another small one, we allow you to duplicate a filter. So if you create a filter and you want to say where the customer name contains, a W, and oh, that's carrier name. Sorry, I want to go customer number contains W. Well, you could, oh yeah, so customer doesn't have W, so I want name. Sorry, I want customer name. Yeah. Well, I'll just say description. Oh, yeah, I saw it further down. So it contains W, but you also want to go add again, and you want to go description. We allow you to do it multiple times. So you can actually use that same filter twice or 3 or 4 times. And then you've got this button on top. You've got an or and an and, or we call it an any or an all. So where it contains any of those 2 characters I put in there or all of those, so it has to contain both of them. So, and you can use those criteria for all of our searches or all of our filters now. Okay, so with emailing, we allow you to now specify the name of your template. So if I hit the email button, we used to put the subject became the template name, but now if you call this test or something, and then now you can put a separate subject in here, and this you can say order, spelling error, but so I put in the order number, and then, you know, attention, I put in the contact 1 name, and I can just preview that. See, it's filled out, the order number's there, the contact is there, and I can hit save. So that template name is called test now instead of it used to be that it was we took the actual subject and put it there. So not a big one, but again was requested quite a bit. Okay, so now with filters, I really like this feature because I use it a lot internally here. With filters, we can add a filter, and then once we've added it and we've created it on our list, so one of these here, we can now take one of those filters and we can send it to our module list. So I haven't got any new ones, but you'll see what happens is I can go add filter to module list. I pick one of the filters available, and it comes up over here. So we've got this little plus mark and minus mark here. If that's there, you know there's some preset filters. So I can say all my orders under 20%, all my per later orders, all my rentals, everything with a back order on it. Any orders, we call this one SP, and this just says the part number contains an SP and the required date is the next 10 days. Why, I don't know, but it's just anything you can do basically. In customers, any customers that are over 10,000 in sales, but with a credit limit of less than 10,000, oh, sorry, over 10,000 in their what they owe us, the balance, and the limit of less than 10,000. And all Ontario customers with $50 GP less, or inventory, items that need reordering. So this is everything that's below the reorder point. We have back orders and all that for it. So any items that are less than 25% margin, and then sales history, anything that got posted to inventory with back orders. Maybe I want to check my data, my back orders and things like that. So really what you're doing is you're adding kind of modules by sub-modules to the modules we've already got there. Okay, sales history, we've got another 2 minutes left here and we'll be done, ready for questions. So quickly in sales history, just a small thing, but we now allow you to edit the info section when you hit the edit button. So all this, the carrier info on the job, so if you put the wrong job on there, it's going to be changed. Just a caution here, the job only gets changed in sales history. It does not get changed in the job cost module at this point, so this is really only usable for people that don't post to the job itself. Okay, and that's in all of our other fields are still editable, of course, too. We add phases to purchase orders now. So in the POs themselves, we go into purchases, and we're in a purchase order. We have phases in here, just like we do in sales orders. So, you know, shipped order, and you can add these phases as you wish. Okay, we are now able to filter on sales order details. So if I go in here and I do, we were always able to do a search for a particular part number within the order. So if I typed in Sonos, for instance, Sonos, I find all my orders that I've got a part number somewhere in there with Sonos on it. Or if I go to, now what I can do actually is I can go to my filters and I can say where my part number, there it is, contains Sonos. So there's all my items so I can create filters on these now, not just searches. And again, of course, because it's a filter, it can be saved as well. Okay, one last couple things here. Our printing now. Our print button has a dual purpose now. You can go print selected, which means you are printing what's highlighted, or you can go print all, which means it's printing everything that's on the screen by using the filters. Okay. In inventory, for those of you in Ontario, or actually anybody who's in an HST province, we now have the tax rebate settings here. So in the Business Division setup, you can do the tax rebate, but now you can say which province they apply to. We always respected that, or we did respect it actually starting in the early 60s, and then but now we actually UI for it as well. Okay, customers. If there's a communication on a customer, we now turn it red, so you know there is a communication, small thing. We added the address information to the sales. I know I'm jumping all over the place here, but now we have the address information on the sales order screen. So if you want to see all your orders that are in a certain city, you can do that. And of course, search on that as well and set filters for it. Or if you're doing deliveries and you want to sort it by postal code, you can do that here. Okay, and lastly, we have one new feature, or not one new feature. A new feature in Ontario in sales orders. Actually, it's in inventory, I guess. But if you've put an item as inactive, you can then set the alternate part number for it. And what we do, if you sell an item that is inactive and you have set an alternate part number for it, so I've got an EQ-1245, then it pops up and says EQ-1245 is inactive. Would you like to use the alternate EQ-1800 instead? And we click OK. So that's it. That's the last of it. I'll tell you what we got planned. These are the vaporware so far, but sometime before in early fall, you should be able to see a little earlier than that. We'll have our general ledger and accounts receivable complete, as well as the account reconciliation. We will have the capability to add and edit territories, add and edit salespeople, and add and edit jobs for job costing. And that'll be the version 6.3. And then by January, basically the program will be pretty well complete. It's going to have the accounts payable added to it as well, and the new company creation. So everything besides payroll realistically can be done within BVEssentials.